likely to develop ovarian cancer than those who had never been on hormonal contraceptives. Even more impressive, current users enjoy a whopping 42% reduction in risk of the disease. While the study cannot establish causality, correlation among the huge sample size was undeniable. The recent findings mirror multiple previous studies of smaller size whose conclusions also indicated greatly reduced incidence of ovarian cancer for those on the pill. You can follow me on social media at The Actual Mercy. For Reality Check Live, I'm Mercy Malik.
Recap Reality Check Live.
Support us now with your small tax-deductible donation at mypublicmedia.org.
Reality Check Live.
Hi, Carrie Harrison here with you. And as you know, I'm a world traveler, just got back from Central Europe. So the question is, how do you find good deals? Not just internationally, but domestically. Well, let me tell you what we travel professionals use. It's not a number that most people know, but I'm going to let you in on it. It is low-cost air. I'm going to say it again. Low-cost air. You will save unbelievable amounts of money to go absolutely anywhere you want to go. It's 800-218-4909. 800-218-4909. Low-cost air will hook you up in ways that no app, no internet website, no other place can, because they have decades of access through all the different travel agencies, beating all the apps, beating all the websites, beating all the regular travel agents. You want to call low-cost air. 800-218-4909. 800-218-4909. 800-218-4909. That's 800-218-4909.
Reality Check Live, Carrie Harrison.
And it is Reality Check Live, realitychecklive.org. Carrie Harrison here with you. You can follow us on all social media at GoHarrison, across the board, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Donald Trump. It's all the same, at GoHarrison. We're talking right now with Brenda Gutierrez. She is the leader of the Me Too movement of Los Angeles. LA is the second largest city in the United States, so you have well, let's just say the optics are huge. You're also the head of the Me Too March International, the Me Too Survivors March, and you just told us your personal rape story for the very first time publicly, and I didn't realize that was going to happen. So it's a huge act of bravery, much as any woman that comes forward, because I think there's a lot of shame attached to it, fear that it could happen again. What do people think? And remarkably, and it seems remarkable in this modern era, it's, half the men somehow claim they just don't believe it. They just don't believe it. And I do believe it. How many times has somebody lost a temper and kicked a dog or smacked a student at school? Just turn on the local news in any city, and that's all you see is people smacking, stabbing, bullies going at it. So how can this not be believed, except, and here's the big except that it's inconvenient for men to be outed, exposed this way. Why do Muslim women have to wear burqas? Because the men cannot control themselves. It's not the women climbing on them. It's that a man cannot simply I see how I have to tiptoe around this? I'm just going to get in trouble no matter what I say, that's for sure. Right. So I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm smart that way.
Yes, it was crazy for me to see after the first hashtags of Me Too started coming out, all the conversations that I had with my male friends. A lot of them were like, wow, I didn't realize how often this happens, or how women go through this all the time. And it was just crazy to me, because I know that as a woman of color, I've had to deal with it my whole life. I've had instances when I'm crossing the street or walking and someone comes and just feels that it's okay to like smack me in the butt, and so for me it was having all those conversations with all the men around me about like, hey, this is an issue, this is happening, this isn't just a women's issue, this is like an issue that men have to be able to address as well. There's a lot of rape jokes, there's a lot of, oh, boys will be boys, a lot of, oh, it's just locker room talk, when it's not. A lot of that locker room talk can lead to a lot worst things. I mean, we see it with Brett Kavanaugh. He's, I don't even know the word to describe him.
Well, entitled bully, some might say.
Right. That's a polite.
I am polite.
Sure.
I'm a wasp. I even know which berry fork to use. And I just wanted to get a little more of the story. You were just hinting more about the rape experience and then what happened afterwards. So your brother, your whole family ends up being involved because it's just the nature of the blowout from these things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know that my older brother felt definitely a lot of guilt because he left me alone that night, and my sister felt a lot of guilt because of the person that was very close to her. So they both did commit suicide 6 months apart from each other, 6 months after the rape. So it's not just that it affected one individual, it affected the whole family. It affected a lot of my life afterwards.
So let's talk a little bit about your brother. So you're his sister, and I mentioned that my sister had been raped 3 times and how personal it was to me. How old was your brother, and what did he do?
He was 24 at the moment. He was supposed to be with me that night, but he went and spent the night with his girlfriend. So the next morning, he showed up to the hospital because he had to be there when they called him that this had happened. And I couldn't even talk to him. I felt so much, my first words to him were where were you? And to that, it took me a long time because I felt guilty for a long time because I felt that phrase alone cost him a lot of guilt. And it took me years to kind of deal with that and tell myself that it wasn't my fault. The events after that were not my fault. But I know he felt a lot of guilt. I know he felt a lot of anger. He just wanted to hurt this individual that had hurt me. But it was just a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, and it was definitely a very weird dynamic after that. There's this thing that I do that everyone I come across with that I care and love, I do not go a day without saying I love you, because he would say it to me a lot after that, and I was so angry that I never said it back. So he committed suicide without me saying it back. So now I'm making my thing that if I love you, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm not gonna hide it. So it's definitely affected me a great deal. My sister committed suicide 6 months after him. They were twins, so of course, it's
like me and my sister, twins. It's an incredible connection. So her losing her twin, your brother having felt so guilty about not having been there that night, though, No
one knew. I mean, we trusted this individual. So I know she felt a lot of guilt because she brought this individual in, and she felt a lot of anger towards me, and that was something that we had to kind of deal with because our relationship just completely broke down. I mean, if we had that rivalry before, after that, it was just, there was no sisterhood there after that. There was just a lot of anger, a lot of resentment towards each other. And after he passed away, it just kind of grew a little bit more. And then we started trying to rebuild that family bond, that sisterhood. But it was a lot for her. And she did commit suicide 6 months after he did. She did do it in front of me when I was 16. So that just made me completely shut down after that. I barely talked to anyone. I barely said anything. I was just very, I had to deal with a lot of, I did become a cutter. So I had to deal with a lot of those issues, and especially because I wasn't saying anything to anyone. I wasn't letting, even my closest friends didn't know what was going on, or why, like, I just kept it all to myself. Because I did feel guilt. I did feel that I had lost my family because of something I did. So I did not want the judgment from other people. So I definitely did keep it in and just said nothing to anyone. And it just kind of stayed there for a long time, years. And I never said anything until after 2016. That's when I was just, I'm going to be more open about what happened to me. And I did start talking to some of my friends about what happened and everything after that. It was definitely hard because after the rape, there were a lot of rumors about me and in school. So I became like a target sometimes. So I had to kind of deal with that as well, because there were things that were being said about me that weren't true. But, when you're young, it's just devastating to go through all that. Now as I'm older, I can see how it just made me stronger. I can take a lot. I think I grew with a very thick skin, so I can take a lot without taking things personal. So when I go to events and talk about being a survivor and there's individuals that just have really mean things to say, it doesn't even really faze me anymore. It's just like you're someone that probably needs to learn a little bit and be educated, but it's definitely not easy. It's been like rough. Past 2 years, I think, have been the most rough, because I did have to start dealing with things that I didn't deal when I was 15. Because I didn't deal with it then. It all just kind of came all together at once, and it was like, okay, now I really need to deal with it. Now I need to address all these issues that I have to be able to be okay.
My heart is beating so fast right now because I don't know that I've really ever heard anything quite like that. I wish I could say I was surprised that they continue to blame you, like somehow you were wearing a short dress or the usual kind of stuff that people like to say. What about the perpetrator, whoever this guy is? Is he behind bars now, or?
He, the first time, he got 5 years, got out in 3, although, he had to get 50 plus something stitches, broken bones, a lot of damage that was done to me, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally.
You had 50 broken bones?
I got over 50 stitches in places that we shouldn't get stitches. But he got 5 years, was out in 3, and then I really didn't hear much about him. The second time, he got 10 years. He did commit suicide in his first few months there, which just left the whole bitter feeling in me, because it just felt like he never actually got what. And
I like both of the stories.
Oh, fuck me. Fuck me. God damn it. God damn it. I fucking hit a thingy.
KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station, where your business comes first.
The fucking...
Visit your local Baker's drive-thru restaurant this month and get an Easter Seals Safe Halloween booklet for just $1. You'll receive over $400 in coupons and make a life-changing difference in the lives of kids and adults with disabilities in the Inland Empire. 100% of the proceeds support Easter Seals services in your community. No trick. Learn more at easterseals.com/Southern Cal.
Do you have any questions about Success Partner presents the all-new Yucaipa and Calamasa Morning Market, located on the corner of County Line Road and California Street in the city of Yucaipa. This all-new neighborhood farmers market is open from 8 a.m. to noon on most Saturdays and carries some of the freshest produce in the Inland Empire. The Yucaipa and Calamasa Morning Market now open on most Saturdays at 13669 California Street in Yucaipa. 13669 California Street in Yucaipa. More information at 909-222-9293. That number again is 909-222-9293, or email successpartner@live.com. The all-new Yucaipa and Calamasa Morning Market, now open on most Saturdays in Yucaipa. Presented by Success Partner.
Carrie here. This is Reality Check Live, realitychecklive.org. You can follow us. In fact, you can tweet us right now live at GoHarrison, which is our social media handle across the board. Sitting next to the beautiful Mercy Malik. If you're watching us right now on Tiki Live or YouTube live streaming, you will see us in our natural habitat as cartoons, which is our natural habitat. I think, Mercy, you would agree with me.
It's going to be from now on, definitely.
So we're dealing with this Kavanaugh thing, and I'm going to play a clip. I'm not sure if you can hear it, Mercy, but this was one of Brett Kavanaugh, who is, as we know, poised to become the next Supreme Court justice, giving us 40 years of extreme right-wing love and frolic, including the overt statement that he would not allow a sitting president, or even after the fact. In other words, he's a self-pardon kind of guy. This was his former Yale buddy just today breaking, saying that Kavanaugh, because of a civic-minded move, this guy came up to speak, that Kavanaugh was lying, as a matter of fact, was a roaring drunkard, and more. All right, we're back. Hey, just a quick check. Are you hearing us? I am not sure. Are you hearing us, Nick? We are not hearing us. Yes! Excellent!
Success!
So, here was the issue. We had,
There's a couple of different issues.
Yeah,
we're going to unpack them all.
Yeah. So we're having a technical issue. That I'm just going to declare right out in the open. But we're just going to assume everything is going fine, so there.
2018.
I touched a wire, and it screwed everything up permanently.
It was really exciting.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, it was exciting, except I am so roaring mad, but I'm not going to show it.
Wait.
We just heard the friend of Brett Kavanaugh saying he was a liar. This just happened today. It opens up a can of worms. Earlier, we heard from the Los Angeles founder, the international founder of the Me Too movement, #MeToo. Then we have also had, as a guest on this show, a guy, and we created a brand new hashtag, He Too, because he had been a guy who was sexually assaulted, and it's in BuzzFeed and all the rest of it. And then I think we should probably start #Me3 for transgenders and all the rest of it, and all the rest of us.
Or we can just use Me Too for all victims. Which, and again, I'm sorry to keep hammering this on every show, but I'm going to pick up a sledgehammer, I'm going to have a big fat nail, and pound it home. Anytime we designate different genders as having different experiences, different needs, different, you name it, being more or less sensitive to having been assaulted, everyone loses. Whenever we try to make it a smaller club, everyone loses. The bigger we can make the tent, of people who have experienced horrific circumstances and are willing to take that courageous step and be open and honest about it, the more everyone wins. The more it becomes a situation where people really think twice before abusing people, because they know that people will have a hospitable environment in which to report, or at least as much so as we can make it, and that they will not be cut out of the program because they have the wrong situation in their pants. So personally, I'm always in favor of a non-gender specific situation, particularly in situations that are so horrendously difficult for people to admit, sometimes even to themselves, let alone publicly.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mercy, and that is exactly the problem, is that there are always going to be opportunists. And it's important, I think, to be the voice of reason occasionally, to which you always are.
And inclusivity. I'm not sure. I try to be reasonable, but my main watchword is inclusivity. Let's bring everybody in. Let's help everyone who needs to be helped. Let's hear everyone who needs to be heard. Let's not put stipulations on who's worthy of receiving assistance or having their voice be broadcast.
Let's go beyond that. And Mercy, you have an actual example of a sports player who was wrongly accused.
Yep.
And the fact is, there have always been people that see these laws and see these opportunities and jump on them, seize them, and it does work. We are not talking about the guest who we were previously talking to. But there are known items, for instance. So we want to bring these forward so we're not just sitting here like the rest of the stupid moron, generally incredibly incompetent media, and just picking up whatever the popular thing is and selling it to you.
Right. And
so Mercy, give that example while I play with this Edison plug down here.
I will do it. All right. Not first of all going to set the stage. Here's the situation. If you are a person like myself, like Carrie Harrison, who is vitally interested in people who have been abused being heard in what we would call our side, the lefties or whatever you want to call them, if you identify with any of those goals that I have just mentioned, here is something to not do. Please, please do not dismiss or make fun of people's fears that their sons will be wrongly accused of assault. I see this online a lot, people saying, oh, you're so worried about that. Well, what? You don't have to be worried about that. No, quite frankly, there's a lot of things to worry about in the world. You can worry about getting in your car and driving down the street and getting hit by a truck, because that's something that happens. False accusations are also something that happens. And when we deny that, we actually harm real victims, as well as creating and saying it's okay for those victims to also include people who are wrongly accused. Let's talk about Brian Banks. This is a name that you might or might not know, or perhaps you have some recollection of the case. He was a high school football player down in Long Beach, California, who was accused of rape by a classmate. He went, not for nothing, he was an African-American student, not for nothing. He ended up taking a plea deal, even though he strictly, strongly, and emphatically maintained his complete innocence through the entire run of this horrendous experience for him. He went to prison and served his full prison term of over 4 years, then went on probation, and then tried to, limpingly along, restart what was supposed to be an award-winning football career as projected when he was in high school. A couple of years after that, his accuser contacted him privately and admitted that she had fabricated the entire thing because she and her mother had conspired to defraud the Long Beach School District and win what they did, successfully win $1.5 million in a judgment saying that the school had not put her in a safe environment, had allowed her to be raped. It never happened. This happens. It's not something that we can say, does it happen as often as people being raped and not believed? Of course not. But we do all victims a disservice by pretending that it's not something that we have to be watchful for. There was another case that came up 2016, supposedly the incident occurred, and 2017 was when the woman admitted it. A woman on the East Coast, Nikki Jovino, who has now been completely exposed as a horrendous liar who accused two, coincidentally enough, also African-American football players of supposedly raping her. She was eventually exposed as having completely fabricated the whole thing, but those two guys lost their scholarships, they've lost their education, they've gone into debt because their schools asked them to pay back the parts of the scholarships they'd already used, and now, without the slightest, faintest doubt, It's been proved that they never did anything at all, and this woman is now in jail. So saying that these things don't happen is just untrue. Trying to marginalize them and say, oh, it's negligible, it doesn't matter, is the same thing as saying a disease that afflicts very few people doesn't matter. Of course it matters. So when we let people have their say, we always win. We always get to the bottom of the truth, or at least attempt to get to the bottom of the truth. Does that make any sense, Carrie Harrison?
It does.
Well,
it does. Thank you, Mercy Malik. You absolutely nailed it. Carrie Harrison here, along with Mercy Malik. This is Reality Check Live, realitychecklive.org. We do ask you to please make a donation, tax-free donation, to support this show and all other public radio broadcasts simply by going to mypublicmedia.org, mypublicmedia.org, and we're able to bring you voices like you heard earlier, the Los Angeles founder of the Me Too movement, a woman who for the first time ever in her life publicly revealed, and she didn't know she was going to do it when she came on, but she did, that she had been raped twice. Not only the first time when she was 15, but 10 years later by the same guy who had been stalking her. And then her own brother was felt so guilty because he was supposed to be with her that night but wasn't able to make it, and so it was assumed that the reason that she was raped was simply because he wasn't there to protect her. And he felt that guilt so much so that he took his own life. Then later, his twin sister, the sister also of the founder of the LA Me Too movement, then took her life. The only one left is the living perpetrator, who is now in prison, and the founder of the Los Angeles Me Too movement. What happens? The perpetrator then commits suicide himself, leaving the founder alone. So that's when she creates the Los Angeles chapter of the Me Too movement. And we were only able to bring, through great expense and effort, that because of your generous donation. So we ask you to do what you can, tax-free, completely tax-deductible, mypublicmedia.org, mypublicmedia.org, so we can continue to do this. And also bring on people like me and Mercy, who after the fact are going to offer alternates to the official story here. And it is true that no matter who you are, the stories are yet to unroll. Just let this go for another 6 more months. You're going to hear every variation. You're going to hear more men come forward, how they've had female bosses who've sexually harassed them. And remember, it may not be that the boss wants to have sex with him, but she may be an impediment to his advancing in his job for some sexual reason.
That's right. And when we protect everyone, we protect everyone. That's the reason that I really bristle at this being made a kind of men versus women kind of thing, which is just, to me, more like choosing sport teams all over again. If something is ethically wrong, it's ethically wrong. It's ethically wrong when perpetrated by anyone and when perpetrated against anyone. So I think as a nation, if we want to move forward, if we want to do right by women, men, girls, and boys, we need to say assault is not okay. Doing things to others that they do not want done to them is not okay, no matter who's doing it and no matter who's on the receiving end.
The fact is, if you want to take the definition of rape, it's really very straightforward. It is taking sex from someone who does not want to give it. Now, I know we all think, well, there has to be penetration. No.
Nope.
There doesn't have to be penetration. There can be holding somebody down and putting your hand over their mouth. Now, if you've ever been bullied in your own life and pinned down where you couldn't breathe, or waterboarded under a paper napkin with 1 drop of water, which is sufficient to actually freak you out for the rest of your life, then you know what it's like. And most of us men, I would say most of us, have probably never been raped before. And so I can tell you, as a twin and having a twin sister who's been raped 3 times, I'm close to her in a way that only a twin can be. This is serious stuff. And thank God in 2018, it's finally coming out. Finally! Finally! In 2018, we're talking about something that's been going on for 3,000 years. And I know some of you listening have done it. Some of you listening have done date rapes. Some of you listening have thrown roofanols and done the rest of it and pounded somebody while they're passed out or drugged out because you took full advantage of a situation. You feel, well, they don't know about it, so it was okay. That is rape.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I mean, Carrie, I'm sure you and I could do several shows just on our own personal experiences in any of these areas, but I also kind of wanted to just briefly touch on, certainly there are many, many stories that I could personally tell involving really awful physical situations that I have been in, but I want to make it clear that it's not always physical. When I was a child, aside from any other things that we could go into later on, there was a family friend who used to like to get me alone and speak to me in a sexual way. Every time we were alone, it would just be this sexual talk and telling me how what a luscious little girl I was, quote unquote. It was the most horrendously shameful and awful thing to me that stuck with me for, I think of it now and I still cringe, and he never touched me. He never physically touched me, so probably thought it was okay. But put yourself, if you are a person who's examining your past right now and being like, oh my God, did I do something? Did I do something? Here's the thing to not do. Don't just knee-jerk block it out and go, no, I didn't. Take a second, sit with yourself and think, have I made someone uncomfortable? Have I made someone feel a way that's going to stay with them in a terrible manner? How would I have felt if this were done to me? And if you can't make an amends to that person, please go forward in your life and live in a way that helps people and prevents that from happening to others. Be the person who stands up when you see someone being bullied or spoken to in a way that you can tell is upsetting to them. Don't let it happen in the future. That's your task. Think so?
Right.
I was 35 with two beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often, using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me. I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could put on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. That's 800-918-1376.
And it is a very loud echo. That's for damn sure.
We're in the Grand Canyon.
That's right.
Canyon.
54 minutes past the hour. Carrie Harrison with you. This is Reality Check Live. You can get a podcast of this and every other one of our shows simply by downloading our free app. Free! Our favorite price, free, at the App Store. It is the cleverly named Reality Check Live. What's the name of the app?
Reality Check Live.
What's the name of the free app at the App Store?
Reality Check Live. Free!
Now remember, it's not called Reality Check. There's lots of that out there. There's a lot of Reality Check this, that. There's like surfing reports by that name. There's BBC stuff by that name. We are the only on the planet Reality Check Live. So you got to put in the live every time you search for us or every time you download the free app on the App Store for your iOS device, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone. And what's the name of the app?
Reality Check Live.
That's right.
And it's free.
It's free, our favorite price.
Terry,
Ding,
where
ding.
can they watch us as cartoons right now?
You can watch this cartoon. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is cleverly named Go Harrison. I know. So you just put in YouTube, Go Harrison, probably in Google or in the thingy, and it'll come up and you'll be able to see this cartoon of us. We're also live streaming on Tiki Live through KCAA's Tiki portal. And I'm not sure exactly what they call that, but I imagine KCAA.
I just like saying Tiki Portal.
Tiki portal.
Yeah, I like it. Rolls off the tongue. It doesn't matter.
I used to make tiki when I was a small child. Now it's louder.
Tiki time.
Yeah, tiki time. Well, we've been, playing a little verbal tennis here about all of this really rather serious business. But I just want to say, Mercy and I have been walking a very delicate line for the past few months because, God, nobody wants to offend anybody in our polarized society. Well, you know what? It's over. Tough. I'm sick of lousy behavior. I'm not going to, like, walk the line. We don't want to upset anyone in the OC, you know, who's trying to steal. We don't want to, like, upset anybody in Riverside County in their pick-em-up truck who might be upset at the idea of sharing toys or allowing a Mexican to have a Band-Aid, for God's sake. You know, I'm done with that. So here it is. We stand for the humans.
Yes.
And if you're not a human...
well, that's cool, too.
That's
but,
fine,
you
like
know,
a cartoon.
Yeah, you can still listen.
Yeah,
it's
you
fine.
can still listen.
A couple things I want to say. A couple things. First of all, I want to touch on just the Kavanaugh concept for a second, if we may, Carrie Harrison, because the Me Too situation and the Kavanaugh situation are connected, but not the same. They are disparate issues. I think when Carrie talks about us not being afraid to offend people anymore, really what we're saying is we're not going to insult your intelligence. We know that you're thinking people. If you've chosen to listen to this show, you're a thinking person who wants to process information. And I get feedback from some of y'all who are pretty far on the right, like really far, like almost back around the corner again. But you have expressed to me that you feel comfortable having a dialogue with me because I will talk with you and I'm not going to call you names. I'm not going to call anyone names. I want to hear where you're coming from, and as long as you allow me to present to you the corresponding other side of the story, that's great. So let's just talk about Kavanaugh for just a second. Kavanaugh is he is being interviewed for a job.
That's it. And you know what? He sucks.
He's
we got
horrible.
like a minute left. He failed. This would be a guy who's got a lousy temper, a lousy temperament. He's angry. He turns around and abuses the people who are interviewing him for a job. This is not the guy you want deciding on your children's future, your future, whether you ever get to have clean water, air, have melting glaciers, have the ability to fly on a plane because he decides you're on the no-fly list because you got too many freckles or BO or whatever the problem might be. He is inappropriate. In fact, he is opprobrious. In fact, of course he's an exquisite pick from Donald Trump. Remember who Donald Trump's lawyer and mentor was? None other than Roy Cohn from the good old days of the McCarthy era. These people suck.
Think about if you went into a job interview and you behaved as Kavanaugh has behaved. And you know what? I don't even care if you believe his accusers or not. You can think that they have not met the burden of proof for you. That is perfectly fine. Look at how the man has behaved and ask yourself, is that the temperament of someone that I would hire to answer the phones in my receptionist desk? Certainly not. Is that a good pick for the Supreme Court? Are you telling me that's the best the Republicans have to offer?
Yes.
I would never insult the Republicans that way.
Apparently it is.
Across the aisle.
So if you're a Republican, stand up. Stand up and just say no, like Nancy Reagan, with a glass of champagne in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Just say no to drugs. Harrison with you. This is Reality Check Live. You can visit us anytime at realitychecklive.org. Make sure you like the page. Check us out on Facebook. Go to Go Harrison on our YouTube channel. You can ubiquitously follow us on social media at Go Harrison. And, of course, Mercy Malik, your Twitter handle?
At The Actual Mercy. No fake mercies allowed.
There you have it. We will see you next week. I will be in a much better mood because I won't have screwed up the wiring. And won't that be lovely?
Bye-bye.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5